Welcome to Calm Mind English. Today's topic is simple, but it may explain more of your life than you think. We're talking about why you need to stop waiting to feel ready. A lot of people are not lazy. They are not careless. They are not weak. They're just standing in one quiet place, waiting for the right feeling to arrive. They think, maybe next week I'll be more focused. Maybe tomorrow I will have more energy. Maybe after I learn a little more, plan a little better, or calm down a little, then I can finally begin. So they wait. They wait to study until they feel motivated. They wait to apply until they feel confident. They wait to have a difficult conversation until they feel calm. They wait to change their life until something inside feels clear and strong. From the outside, it looks like delay, but inside, it feels more reasonable than that. It feels careful. It feels smart. It feels responsible. And that is why this pattern is so hard to notice. You may say, I am not avoiding it. I just want to do it properly. I want to start when I can really give my best. I want to begin when my mind is ready. That sounds wise. But in real life, this way of thinking can quietly keep you stuck for months or even years. Because sometimes you're not waiting for the right time. You are waiting for the right emotion. And that emotion does not always come. Think about how this looks in a normal week. You open a notebook, then close it. You look at a course, then tell yourself you will start after the weekend. You think about sending a message, but decide to do it later when your words feel clearer. You are not doing nothing. You are circling the starting line. That is an exhausting place to live. There's a special kind of tiredness that comes from unfinished beginnings. You keep imagining the better version of yourself. The one who wakes up early, studies regularly, answers messages on time, applies for the opportunity, starts the project, organizes the room, and moves forward. But the real version of you is still waiting for permission from a feeling that never fully arrives. This video is for that moment. Not for the loud, dramatic moment where everything falls apart. For the quieter one. The one where your life does not look broken, but it is not moving either. That quiet pause can last a very long time if you do not understand what is happening. So let us look at it clearly. Most people think they are waiting to be prepared, but often they are waiting to feel safe. That is different. When you say, I do not feel ready, sometimes what you really mean is this. I do not feel safe enough to fail. I do not feel safe enough to be seen trying. I do not feel safe enough to do this badly at first. That is why readiness feels so important. You're not just asking, can I do this? You are asking deeper questions. What if I try and look foolish? What if I begin and cannot continue? What if I give effort and still do not get the result I wanted? Those questions are rarely spoken out loud, but they shape your behavior every day. A person says they want to improve their English. They have the app. They have the videos. They even have some free time. But each day they say, I will start seriously next Monday. What are they really waiting for? Not information. They already have that. Often they're waiting for a version of themselves that feels stronger, more disciplined, less embarrassed, less distracted, more certain. But important things do not usually begin with certainty. They begin with discomfort. You can see this in many parts of life. A person wants to change jobs, but keeps reading more about the field instead of applying. A person wants to exercise, but spends more time choosing the perfect plan than doing one short workout. A person wants to speak honestly in a relationship, but keeps waiting for the perfect moment when the words will come out gently and cleanly. In each case, the person believes they are preparing, and sometimes they are, but often they're standing near the door without opening it. Preparation becomes a beautiful form of delay. This is why intelligent people can stay stuck for a long time. They know how to explain their waiting. They can make it sound thoughtful. They can call it timing, planning, reflection, research, self-awareness. But deep down, they're hoping that one day they will wake up and feel no resistance. That day rarely comes. The strange truth is that you can feel deeply unready and still be fully capable of taking the first step. You do not need emotional comfort to begin. You need willingness to begin without it. That is hard for people to accept because it removes a comforting excuse. If readiness is not required, then what you are waiting for may not be a real condition. It may just be a feeling you have treated like a rule. And feelings are powerful, but they are not always instructions. A tired mind can tell you to postpone. An anxious mind can tell you to hide. A perfectionistic mind can tell you to keep preparing. But that does not mean those voices are leading you toward a better life. Sometimes they are just protecting you from discomfort in the short term. And that protection becomes a cage. At first, waiting feels harmless. You tell yourself, I just need a little more time. But something quiet begins to happen when you repeat that too often. The task starts to grow in your mind. What was once small becomes heavy. What could have been one short step becomes a shadow that follows you through the day. You remember it while washing dishes. You remember it while scrolling on your phone. You remember it before sleep. It is not always in front of you, but it stays near you. This is the hidden cost of waiting. The task does not disappear. It enters your mental space and takes up room. A short email becomes a source of dread. One application becomes proof that you are behind. A simple conversation becomes something you rehearse again and again without having it. And after enough delay, the task is no longer just a task. Now it carries shame. This is where things become painful. At the beginning, you are only uncertain. Later, you become disappointed in yourself. You start saying things like, why am I like this? Why can I not just do it? What is wrong with me? That inner voice makes everything worse. Because now you're not only facing the task, you're also facing your own self-judgment. Imagine a person who wants to return to studying after a long break. The first day, they feel hesitant. The second day, they say, I am too tired. After 1 week, they feel guilty. After 1 month, opening the book is not just about learning anymore. It now carries the weight of every day they avoided it. This is why small delays become emotional mountains. Another person wants to go to the gym. At first, it is just one missed day. Later, the shoes in the corner start to feel like silent criticism. Then they stop thinking, I need to exercise. They start thinking, I am the kind of person who never follows through. That shift is dangerous. Because the longer you wait, the more your mind turns unfinished action into identity. It stops feeling like I've not started this yet. It starts feeling like I am not someone who can start. That is not true, but it feels true after enough repetition. This is why waiting is not neutral. It changes the emotional shape of your life. It teaches your nervous system that the starting line is a stressful place. It teaches your mind to connect action with pressure, not possibility. Then even simple things begin to feel strangely heavy. You sit at a desk to do one small task, and your body feels tired before you begin. You open a document, and your mind wants to escape. You think about making progress, and instead of energy, you feel resistance. People often think they need more motivation in that moment. But what they may need is to understand how much energy has already been lost to waiting. The delay has been draining them. And the answer is not to hate yourself for that. The answer is to see it clearly enough that you stop asking delay to save you. Because it never does. There's another mistake many people make before they start anything important. They expect themselves to begin in a strong form. They want to start focused, clear, disciplined, consistent, emotionally stable, and fully committed. That sounds good, but it is not how real beginnings work. Real beginnings are usually awkward. You are distracted. You are uncertain. You do not know if your plan is good. You do not know if you will last. You do not even know if this is the right approach. You only know that staying still is not helping. Still, many people refuse to begin unless their inner state looks polished. They want the beginning to feel like the middle. That is why they keep delaying. A person says, I want to learn English, but if I start, I want to do it seriously. I want at least 2 hours a day. I want a full plan. I want to speak clearly. I want to remember everything. That sounds ambitious, but it can hide a trap. Because when the standard for starting is too high, the mind chooses not to start at all. The same happens at work. Someone wants to build a portfolio, update a resume, or begin a side project. But they imagine the finished product before touching the first rough draft. They compare their beginning to someone else's developed result. Then their first step feels too small to matter. So they wait until they can do it better. But the better version never appears without the small beginning they keep rejecting. This is one of the hardest truths to accept. You are often asking your beginning self to perform like your developed self. You want confidence before practice. You want clarity before movement. You want consistency before habit. You want strength before repetition. That is backwards. A person returning to exercise may think, if I cannot do a full session, there is no point. So they do nothing. But a 10-minute walk would have started something. A simple stretch would have reminded the body that movement is still possible. A person writing something important may think, if I cannot write it well, I should wait. So they stay frozen. But one rough paragraph would have created a direction. One bad sentence would have broken the silence. This matters because action does not only produce results. It produces psychological evidence. When you act, even imperfectly, your mind receives new information. It sees that movement is possible. It sees that discomfort can be survived. It sees that the feared beginning is not the end of you. Without that evidence, your imagination remains in charge. And imagination, when mixed with fear, often exaggerates everything. It tells you the first step is huge. It tells you you must feel more certain first. It tells you it will be easier tomorrow. But tomorrow is often built from the decisions you avoid today. So at some point, you need a new understanding. The people you admire are not always people who felt ready. Very often, there are people who stopped giving that feeling the final vote. They acted while still unsure. They studied while tired. They applied while doubtful. They spoke while nervous. They started clumsily, then became clearer through repetition. That is how many forms of confidence are born. Not before action, after action. This point is easy to hear, but important to feel deeply. Confidence is often not the cause of movement. It is the result of movement. A person becomes less afraid of interviews by doing interviews. A person becomes more comfortable speaking English by speaking English. A person becomes more organized by practicing organization, not by waiting until they naturally feel organized. Life teaches through motion. You may think you need more self-belief before you begin, but often what you need is a small action that creates believable evidence. Let us say you have been delaying something for weeks. Maybe it is study, paperwork, a habit, an application, a message, or a personal decision. In your mind, the whole thing feels large and heavy. You keep trying to create the perfect mental state before touching it. What if you stopped asking yourself to feel ready and instead asked one simpler question? What is the smallest honest movement I can make today? Not the dramatic movement, not the impressive one, the honest one. Sometimes that means opening the file and writing the title. Sometimes it means reading one page without promising yourself more. Sometimes it means putting on your shoes and stepping outside for 10 minutes. Sometimes it means sending a short message instead of composing the perfect one in your head for 3 days. These actions look small, but they do something important. They interrupt the pattern of emotional waiting. They teach your mind a different rhythm. The old rhythm says, feel better, then act. The new rhythm says, act a little, then see what changes. That shift can change your whole week. Because once you begin, the task becomes more real and less mythical. You can work with something real. You can adjust something real, but you cannot build a life from imagined perfect beginnings. Many people spend years respecting their hesitation too much. They think every feeling of resistance deserves obedience. They think every wave of doubt is a wise warning. They think every low-energy day means they should pause important growth. That becomes a quiet form of surrender. There is a better way to live. Not harshly, not aggressively, not by bullying yourself, but by learning how to move with some discomfort instead of giving discomfort complete control. You do not need to attack yourself to grow. You need to stop making comfort the entry requirement for action. That is a calmer kind of discipline. And maybe that is what real maturity looks like. Not becoming fearless, not becoming endlessly motivated, but becoming someone who can say, I do not feel fully ready, but I can still begin. That sentence can carry a life forward. Now, let us make this practical. If you want to stop waiting to feel ready, the first thing to change is your starting standard. Many people use emotion as the signal to begin. They wait until they feel clear, willing, energized, inspired, or mentally fresh. That makes action unstable because feelings move all day. Instead, use behavior as the signal. This means you choose a simple action that marks the beginning, even when your feelings are not ideal. For example, do not say, I will study when I feel focused. Say, I will sit down at 7 p.m. and do 10 minutes. Do not say, I will clean when I have energy. Say, I will put away 10 items before dinner. Do not say, I will start writing when the idea is complete. Say, I will write 3 rough lines. Behavior is easier to repeat than inspiration. The second thing is this. Make the entry point smaller than your pride wants. Pride often wants a strong beginning, a real beginning, a serious beginning. But a useful beginning is better than a dramatic one. If you have not exercised in months, your pride may want a full session. But your real life may only be ready for a short walk. If you have not studied in a long time, your pride may want a perfect comeback. But your mind may need 15 quiet minutes and a gentle restart. This is not weakness. It is wisdom. You're not trying to impress your fantasy self. You're trying to rebuild trust with your real self. That trust grows when you keep promises that are small enough to keep. The third thing is to stop measuring the value of action only by visible results. This is important because small beginnings often look unimpressive. 1 page read, 1 drawer cleaned, 1 email sent, 1 application started, 1 conversation opened, 1 day of showing up. It is easy to dismiss these things. But small actions are not only about output. They are about identity and momentum. They say, I am no longer standing still. I am participating again. That matters. The fourth thing is to expect emotional friction at the beginning and not treat it like failure. This can save you from quitting too early. You may begin and still feel distracted. You may begin and still feel doubtful. You may begin and still feel resistance in your body. None of that means the action was wrong. It may simply mean you are in the first minutes of beginning. People often think the right action should feel smooth right away. That is not always true. Some actions feel heavy at first because your mind is shifting from avoidance into engagement. That transition can feel uncomfortable. Stay with it a little longer. Very often, what looked impossible before starting becomes more manageable after 10 minutes of honest contact. The room still needs cleaning, but now one surface is clear. The study session is not perfect, but now the page is open. The conversation is not finished, but now it exists in the real world instead of only in your head. This is how pressure begins to lose power. Not because you solved everything at once, because you broke the frozen state. The fifth thing is to build a repeatable beginning, not a heroic one. Heroic beginnings feel exciting, but they often fade. Repeatable beginnings look plain, but they can carry your life. A repeatable beginning is one you can return to tomorrow. Maybe that means 20 minutes instead of 2 hours. Maybe it means a short daily habit instead of a complicated weekly plan. Maybe it means one clear action every morning instead of waiting for a large block of perfect time. The goal is not to prove something once. The goal is to create a way of moving that can survive normal life. Normal life is busy. Normal life is messy. Normal life includes low-energy days, unexpected stress, and unfinished thoughts. If your system only works when life feels ideal, it will collapse often. So design your beginnings for real life. Quietly, practically, without drama. Let's bring this down into a few familiar scenes. You wake up already a little tired. You think about studying, but your mind says, "Not this morning." Normally, that thought decides everything. But now you use a new rule. You sit down for 10 minutes anyway. You do not promise a full session. You only start. At first, your mind is noisy. Then one sentence becomes two. One example leads to another. Even if you stop after 10 minutes, the day feels different. You did not wait for motivation to rescue you. Or maybe you have been delaying a message you need to send. You keep rewriting it in your mind. You want the tone to be perfect. You want no misunderstanding. You want complete emotional readiness. Days pass. This time, you write a simple version. Clear, respectful, human. You send it. The relief is not always dramatic, but it is real. The burden becomes smaller because the unknown becomes action. Or maybe there is something larger in your life. A plan you keep postponing. A course you want to begin. A career step you keep researching but not entering. A habit you keep discussing with yourself but not living. In those moments, it helps to remember this. You do not need a fully transformed self to begin a new chapter. You need one honest movement that belongs to the chapter you say you want. That is all. There's also something emotional beneath this whole topic that deserves honesty. Some people wait because they are afraid of failing, but others wait because they are afraid of finding out how much they want something. That fear is quiet but powerful, because once you begin, it becomes real. Your hope becomes visible. Your effort becomes visible. Your care becomes visible. And if it matters to you, then trying can feel vulnerable. Waiting protects you from that vulnerability for a while. If you never begin, you never have to face the result. You never have to discover your current limits. You never have to sit with disappointment. You never have to let other people see that this mattered to you. But that protection is expensive because it also keeps you from growth, from evidence, from progress, from surprise, and from the quiet pride that comes when you finally face what you kept postponing. So maybe stopping the wait is not only about productivity. Maybe it is also about courage. The quiet courage to let your life become real in small ways. Not later. Not when your mind feels clean and certain. Not when fear disappears. While you're still a little uncertain. While your hands are still imperfect. While your energy is still ordinary. That kind of courage does not look dramatic. It looks like someone sitting down and beginning. That person may not feel powerful in the moment, but they are changing something deep. They are teaching themselves that movement is possible before certainty arrives. And that lesson repeats. It helps with study. It helps with work. It helps with health. It helps with conversations. It helps with recovery after difficult seasons. Because life does not usually open after you finally feel ready. Very often, readiness is something that grows after you enter. As we close, think about the area of your life where you have been waiting the longest. Not the dream you talk about lightly, the one that quietly follows you, the one that returns when the room gets quiet, the one that still asks something from you. Maybe you have been waiting for more confidence, maybe more energy, maybe more time, maybe a better mood, maybe a stronger version of yourself. But today, maybe you do not need a stronger version of yourself first. Maybe you need a smaller beginning, a page, A message, a walk, a form, a draft, a call, a first 10 minutes. That is enough for today. You do not need to feel fully ready to begin changing your life. You only need to stop treating readiness like a gate that must open before you move. Sometimes the gate opens after you take a step. So tonight or tomorrow morning, when your mind tells you to wait a little longer, pause and answer gently. I may not feel ready yet, but I am ready enough for one small honest step. And sometimes that is the step that changes everything.